Okay, we're going to get started. Welcome to our 12th annual Communication Alumni Panel. So the last 2 years, we've had to do this completely virtually. So today marks the first time that we actually get to be back together in person, but to accommodate our alums who could not travel a great distance, we also do have our Zoom option. So, I'm going to introduce our in-person alumni. They include Dalton Stevens, Marianne Fletcher, Brittany Rowe, Lance Tackett, and Tori Breeding. On Zoom, we have Robert Rundle, Zachary Bray, Jamie Young, and Will Wheeler. And if we have time, we can call out Rachel Breckenridge in the back, who is a professor but also an alum. So welcome. This panel, the way we usually run it, is I let each alum kind of tell their story and their journey on what they've done with communication since they've graduated. And then we take questions from you. So if at any time you have a question, you can raise your hand, and we will have one or more of them address it. But we all are going to let them speak for themselves, and we're going to start with Dalton. So thanks for coming.
I guess I'll stand. I don't know if I'm supposed to stand, but I will. Hey guys, my name's Dalton Stevens. I'm the owner-operator of Stevens Media Services. We're a local production company here in Pikeville. I'll just kind of give a quick run-through of my college experience, what I did in the communication program, and then what I'm currently doing for work, and kind of how my degree tied into that. And then I've actually got a bolt we've got to shoot down at Bear Towers that I got to get back to. But anyways, I came here in 2012, started out as a pre-med major. Do I need to hold both of these? I came here in 2012, started out as a pre-med major, and then decided that really wasn't going to be the route for me. Then I transitioned over to film and media arts, where I'd worked with Bruce Parsons. He was actually the person who started and implemented the program, so I was one of the inaugural members of the film and media arts program. And then I kind of transitioned away from that and moved over to the communication program, where I got to, work with Chandra and Rachel and a bunch of other cool people, throughout the program while I was here. I graduated in 2016, fresh out of college. I did what most people did or do, and I went to try to go make money because I was very, very poor, and it really sucked not having any. So I went and got a job at Enterprise Rent-A-Car, just down the road here, and I worked there for, 4, 5, 6 months, and then I moved to Lexington, and I worked in their commercial trucking division. Worked for that company for about 3, 4 years, and then I left Enterprise to go pursue an opportunity with a buddy of mine, Ryan Hall. If you guys are like big YouTube people, he's the YouTube weatherman. He runs a channel called Ryan Hall Y'all, and he's actually here in Pikeville. He's got like 750,000 subscribers on YouTube. He just covered Hurricane Ian and had a Forbes article written about him because he had 100,000 concurrent viewers at one time. Super, super cool. I was the director of operations for him for a couple years. He decided to pursue that. I started my own company, and now run Stevens Media Services, which is once again, production company. We specialize in small business production to large business production in terms of video assets, graphic design, photography, videography, whatever the case may be. We're always looking to hire people, by the way. We have like 15 people on our team right now. So if anybody here is good at editing or any type of videography, photography, anything like that, get in touch with me, talk to Chandra. She'll be able to give you my information, because literally we're about to close a deal with Bellator, which is like an incubator program for UFC. We're going to have like 40 athletes working for us, and we need people to work with those athletes and do their social media management and stuff. So yeah, I hate to be quick, but I know I'm going to pass this along to these guys. That way I can get out of here. Appreciate you guys listening to everything, and hopefully you enjoy the rest of this awesome panel. All these guys are killer, and everybody here virtually as well. Yeah, so cool. Sorry, my hands are really sweaty.
Oh, that's disgusting. Okay, I am not going to stand. But my name's Marianne Fletcher. I graduated in 2016. I'll give you a brief overview and then kind of go back and fill in the pieces. Graduated in 2016, majored in communication, minor in film and media arts. Started at WIMT. We are a CBS affiliate in Hazard, Kentucky. Moved to Hazard. Did not like it. So I moved back to Pikeville and started working from my office here. And then in 2020, I had a baby. So I quit, and I'm very thankful to be able to be a stay-at-home mom now. But now I do a little bit of everything. I am design coordinator for Pikeville Pride. I am a board member on Main Street for Pikeville. I run a TikTok that sometimes it gets a lot of views, like for random reasons, and I don't understand. But that's neither here nor there. And I'm just a mom now, which is probably the best job that I'll ever have. And it sounds corny, but it's totally true. But to backtrack a little bit, I did a experiential learning trip with Chandra, and it was the best time of my life. I learned so much about, we went to Germany, and we basically just backpacked everywhere. We never really stayed anywhere longer than 2 nights, and we were on sleeper trains at night, and I mean, it was the best time. I will never be able to replace those memories that I can remember. Yeah. And then I got this wild hair, and I said, I want to be a meteorologist. And Chandra was like, Marianne, you're not going to like that. There's no way. And I'm like, yeah, I will. Don't tell me that I'm not going to like it, Chandra. You don't know what you're talking about. And turns out she knew exactly what she was talking about, because I interned under a meteorologist at my station, WIMT, and I did not like it. There's a lot of math that goes into that. A lot of math to look at the clouds. And I'm like, no, not for me. I'd rather be out talking with people, making connections, telling stories. Kit and caboodle. So I changed my internship to reporting, and then that's really where I fell in love with it. And then I did that until 2020. And yeah, it's a wild ride. I covered everything from animal shelter stories to triple murders down the road. You know, you see everything day to day. It's literally an emotional roller coaster. You just never know what every day will bring you. And if you're that type of person who likes spontaneity, you would love that job. But if you like a more conformed Monday through Friday 9-to-5 job, that is not for you. I think that's it. I don't think I have anything else. So there you go. That's me.
I'm Brittany Rowe, and I graduated in 2014, I think, maybe 13, I can't remember. I was here for a while. I started out as an education major, and I did my student teaching side of it, and I absolutely hated it. And media was always my first love, because when I went to Pike Central, we had WPCC, which was like a news show, and I always loved it. So I went and talked to Chandra. She got me back in the communication classes, because it was always kind of my minor, but never my major. And then I just fell in love with all of it. I also cheered here for 5 years, and then I did the Pink Ladies. Is that still a thing? No. There was a Pink Ladies organization that I was president of, and it was for breast cancer awareness. So I was the president of that for a while. And as far as classes and stuff like that goes, I was probably the worst student. Like, I'll be honest with you all, I was the worst student. My priorities were cheerleading and partying, not school, until I was about 20 years old and realized I had to grow up. So I finally did that, and actually ended up on the dean's list my last 2 years here. And I moved to Lexington and worked at the March of Dimes in nonprofit. Chandra told me I'd hate that, and I did. I did that for about 1.5 years. I actually got to come back here and do the March for Babies here in Pikeville, and the Communication Society actually came and helped at the walk, and I got to see some familiar faces, but I just realized that wasn't for me. I moved back to Pikeville in 2017 and started at Gearhart Communications on the radio side, and that's where I started doing sales. I'm now at Mountaintop Media, formerly known as East Kentucky Broadcasting. I've been there for 5 years. I used to do the morning show. I was the co-host of the morning show on 93.1. Now I'm an on-air personality on Z1075 from 11 till 3, Monday through Friday. I used to do a throwback show on Saturdays, but my co-host quit, so I quit doing it too. But I also do sales for Mountaintop Media. I sometimes appear on the 3 Point podcast or other sports-related events when they need somebody, or on the TV side reporting when they need somebody, because as Marianne knows, in media, you're always shorthanded and you will have multiple jobs and only get paid for one. It's just kind of how it goes. But as far as like my career and stuff goes, I'm happy in the radio side. Like, I don't feel like I really work because my hours are so bizarre. Like, sales-wise, I'm 9 to 5, but your sales don't even stop on like Saturday or Sunday. And I'll be 100% honest with you, if you think you can go in and just make money doing like reporting or being on air, period, your money's not there. You have to sell to make money because that commission check is a lot better than just an on-air check. And that's just me being brutally honest, because I hate the sales side, but that's where you make your money. Am I leaving anything out on the... Me and Marianne have had to work together a lot too. That's another thing, like when you do get out in the field and actually have a career, you'll work with other people. Like when I worked for March of Dimes, Dalton said he worked at Enterprise in Lexington. I would have to go rent cars from Dalton almost once or twice a week, and he would always just laugh like, oh, here's our 2 Pikeville people in Lexington not doing what we were supposed to do with our degree. But Marianne and I, like, we've worked hand in hand together several times, because even though she was with WYMT and I'm with Mountaintop Media, media companies still have to work together even though you're a competitor at events and things like that. So always be nice to your fellow classmates, because you never know who you might have to help out one day or need a favor from somebody or just be working with them. I think that's really all I have.
And if you haven't noticed, if Chandra says you won't like something, she is very likely correct. My name's Lance Tackett, as Chandra said earlier. I actually took a weird turn with my degree because obviously I graduated during COVID. I graduated at the end of 2020 in the wintertime. So that was kind of weird. Obviously there wasn't really anything available. I mean, news stations weren't hiring anybody, obviously. Just really there was no jobs available at that time. So pretty much, if you want me to be honest with you, that last semester I was, Rachel was my capstone professor. I had to do a research study. And after that, I was pretty much, once I graduated, I didn't have my ceremony until May of that year. So I had like 5 months of just sitting in my house pretty much. And really the reason why is because obviously with COVID, but at the same time, my granny is also sick. So my mother helps take care of her, and we didn't want to get out with her, get her sick. So it was more of just like a safety precaution at the time. But an opportunity arose this past summer, not the one that just passed, summer of 21. A former teacher of mine is looking to retire, so she needed someone to help co-teach while she took this other position until obviously she has that transition to retire, and then it would fully be my classroom. But I work in a class called Jobs for America's Graduates. Marianne's very familiar. We went to the same high school, not different times, but we went to the same high school. It's a school-to-work transition program. It teaches you employability skills, leadership skills, and I also teach journalism at the same time. So Chandra obviously was a big help for me in that. She actually just emailed me a template to use for our school newspaper that we're going to work on. But one thing that I love about this degree and loved about the classes that you teach, or the classes that you learn from, is you can use those skills in any job in the world. You have to be able to communicate with others regardless of whether or not you're a teacher, you're in media, you're a sales rep, anything like that. You have to communicate with other people. And understanding how to use those communication skills is extremely important, and understanding, which situation should I, communicate in this way or that way. One thing, though, that I love about teaching is the impact you have on other people. Not just myself, the kids that I teach 9 through 12, grades 9 through 12. What was really weird for me is when I stepped into that role, I was 21 years old. And a lot of the kids that I was teaching, I kind of grew up with them, which was kind of weird. The first day of school, nobody really knew that I was going to be teaching, and I step in. First period class, 4 kids were siblings of people that I graduated with. And they're like, Lance, what are you doing in here, man? What are you doing? I was like, I'm in here now, I'm a teacher now. And it blew, like they didn't know. They were like, what? Oh my gosh, you're a teacher. Oh, this is gonna be so cool. But I was like we're not gonna be just hanging out. You know, obviously I'm gonna teach you things, right? But obviously this degree, make the most of it. This degree is the best degree in the world. I believe that. I tell everybody that. Obviously I kind of, you know, in my teaching days, kids ask me what college should they go to. Obviously I'm a little bit of a homer. I tell them UPIKE because it's a great school. But at the same time I tell them communication is a degree that you can use it for almost any job in the world. It's so broad, it gives you all the skills that you need. And obviously the great professors here, you know, JR, Chandra, Rachel, they will help you with anything that you need. They are here as resources. They're here to help you along the way, and that's pretty much it for me.
Hi y'all, my name is Tori. I graduated in 2019, right before COVID hit, so I really hit it at the perfect time. Sorry, Lance.
Oh, it's fine.
So I actually double majored in communication and psychology, and then after I graduated, I went to EKU to get my master's in counseling. I know you're thinking, what does a common degree have to do with that? But you'll be surprised. So while I was doing my master's in counseling, I used a lot of communication skills at my first ever big girl job, bartending at an Olive Garden. It was the worst time of my life. But honestly, everything that Rachel and Chandra taught me helped me survive every single day in that job. And even where I am now, so I recently moved to West Virginia. I live in Morgantown near WVU. I accepted a position with the National Youth Advocate Program as a counselor. I work with kids ages 3 to 21 with severe emotional disorders. It's a lot of fun and a lot of work, but I would have never gotten that far if I hadn't learned how to talk first. In your first communication class ever, you'll learn about senders and messages and receivers. Very important. Like, that is not a joke. That is the most important lesson you will ever learn, is how to talk to somebody else. Oh, yeah, and also while I was here, I established the UPIKE speech and debate team. We won several national awards, went to lots of places. It was a lot of fun, and then it fizzled out after my friend Zach left. But it was great. It was a wild time. Bring it back, please and thank you.
Okay, let's move to our Zoomers. And Will, you want to lead off the Zoom crew?
Hey everybody, my name is Will Wheeler. I graduated in the spring of 2019. Am I too loud? A little bit? You know, I'm a loud talker. I graduated in the spring of 2019. Currently, I work at Georgia State University as an academic advisor too, for the College of the Arts and College of Education. Yeah, while at UPIKE, I served in SGA as SGA president. I served in the Black Student Union, did a few things, you know, here and then. Yeah, but I'll try to stay on for some questions, but I might have to hop off because we're super busy right now. So yeah, that's my life.
Zoomers, Jamie, do you want to go in case you get called away again?
Hi, everyone. My name is Jamie. I work at Emory and Henry College as an area coordinator of housing. I graduated from UPIKE in May 2022, so, you know, fairly recent. I graduated with 3 degrees of history, political science, communication, and social work. So what I do as area coordinator is I supervise about 460 students in about 10 different buildings on our campus. So kind of like your residence halls, you know, impactful. And no day is the same with my job. It changes daily. That's kind of one of the main things that I enjoy about my job and where I'm working at currently is no day is the same. I kind of function on a 9-to-5 work schedule, and then we rotate on call weekly. So like I'm on call this week, so I'm in a 24-hour on-call schedule this week, which means if anything happens on campus, I'm the go-to for that. So that's kind of a little bit of background into my position now. Thank you all.
Okay, thank you. Let's see, Rob, you want to go?
Yeah, I'll go. Hello, everyone. I know I can't see you all, but appreciate you all coming in and whatnot for our alumni panel. So my name is Rob. I graduated from UPIKE in the spring of 2018. Played baseball all 4 years at UPIKE. And my journey to UPIKE and throughout undergrad was very unconventional, despite other students potentially. So coming into college, my baseball coach told me that I need to declare a major. So I chose mathematics. Nothing against math or the department or anything like that, but math just wasn't for me. So I took some general education courses, knocked those out. And then I took public speaking the spring semester of my freshman year. And I love that class. So then I decided to take Mass Media and Society with Dr. Massner, and I fell in love with that class. And so I knew, there's no doubt in my mind, I want to major in communication. I was also a double major. I also majored in film and media arts too. So, both those majors blend very nicely together at Pikeville. So I was very thankful for that and all the connections I made down there. During my senior year for our senior capstone class, Dr. Massner was telling us, okay, let's look at grad schools. Let's do some internship prep, all that good stuff. And I didn't really know that I had the opportunity to do that. But for me, being up here in Northern Kentucky, where I'm from originally, it just made sense to apply to Northern Kentucky University for their graduate program in communication. So I got into NKU post UPIKE, and it took me about 2.5 years to get my master's in communication. And I cannot stress this enough. And to piggyback off of what Lance said, having a communication degree is so valuable, especially in today's landscape, just because if you look at any job posting across the board, regardless of, what specialty it is, you must have good communication skills. So this degree really sets you up for success, and it's broad in a good way because, like I said, there's so many things we can do. I noticed that Zach's on here, Will, and Jamie, we all work at universities. So I think it's really kind of unique in that regard. So after I finished my master's at NKU, I really wanted to stay. I really liked the environment, the small campus vibe as well, kind of like Pikeville. And I wanted to be an academic advisor. I wanted to help students, especially first generation students that don't really know what they're getting themselves into, especially students that, are a little bit on the fence about wanting to continue with school because they've had some financial struggles or just personal things going on, because that was me when I was in Pikeville. But also I do teach at UPIKE as an adjunct instructor. I don't know if anyone is there, but if you're one of my students, hi. But I do teach public speaking at UPIKE, and I love it. I love being with the students and getting to know them through the class and whatnot. So if you ever have any questions, if you want to know about graduate school, what that's like for communication, if you just have any questions in general, please don't hesitate to reach out. I think my email is in the database for UPIKE. So yeah.
Thank you. Okay, Zach, that leaves us to you.
Hey y'all, I'm Zach. So I graduated in spring of 2020, and I also work at Georgia State University as an academic advisor 1. Prior to my work with GSU, I've done work in the nonprofit world. I've also done other work in higher education. I complete my master's in communication in December of this year, also from Northern Kentucky University. And I think the biggest thing communication taught me was the ability to build a large network. And that is one of the most important skills that you can walk away with, especially in the workforce today.
All right, I probably have some of you in class. My name is Rachel Breckenridge, and I graduated a long time ago in a land far away called Pikeville College. And I've worked here in several capacities, actually. I double majored in human services, which we had before social work. And so I started as a psych major, and I wanted to teach psychology. And then when I started taking my psychology classes, none of these professors are here now, but I realized that my professors were weird, and I didn't know if I wanted to be weird, which I ended up being weird anyway. But I was like, I don't know if this is for me. I don't know if this is what I want to do. And so I took I don't remember the first class I took. PR. Was it PR? Yeah. And I was like, you know, PR sounds fun. I'm going to take that. So I took a PR, a public relations class, and I loved it. I loved the media kit. I loved being able to like look at what a business needed and put stuff out there in the world for them that helped to draw audiences and connect them with their, you know, intended audience. And then I just started taking more classes and more classes and more classes and more classes. And finally I ended up as a comm major. I kind of like grandfathered myself into a comm major. And it cost me an extra year, but I finished it. I double majored. I was almost finished with my human services degree. Like I was getting ready to graduate within like 3 semesters. It added an extra year and I had 2 majors. And it was worth every single moment. Once I graduated, I actually started working for a nonprofit, and I started working for Girl Scouts. And yes, they pay people to work for them. And so I was like, wow, this is really fun. I was basically in charge of recruiting troops and recruiting girls to be in the troops and recruiting like leaders and training them, and then programming. Realized it wasn't really for me because there was a lot of traveling involved, and I was alone a lot, and I didn't like that because I like people. So I ended up quitting that without another job. I just quit, and ended up working for what's called a Supports for Community Living program. It's with people with intellectual and developmental disabilities. One of the absolute most rewarding jobs I've ever had in my life. And I worked as a trainer there. So my boss, and I will forever be grateful for her, she kind of created a position for me when I went into the interview. I interviewed for a case manager, and she was like, I don't want you as a case manager. I'm going to make this position for you. I want you here, but I'm going to use your skills. So what I did was I was employee mentor and trainer for new hires. So I was in charge of the last interview that people went to before they were hired on, and I was responsible for organizing and completing all of their training, teaching, full circle. So then I ended up leaving there and coming to a job here at UPIKE as a staff member for Upward Bound. Don't know if you guys are familiar with Upward Bound. It is for first generation and at-risk high school students to make sure that they finish and complete a program in college and graduate with a college degree. That was really fun. I was a technology coordinator, so I did a lot of social media. I was in charge of photos. I was in charge of, it's kind of like an all-hands-on-deck organization. So I did a lot of programming, a lot of activities, trips. That was really fun. Finished my master's with that program. So while I was working full-time, I was getting my master's, and I finished with a master's in comm. And Chandra just happened to be like, you should teach. I was like, you know, you've suggested every other thing I've ever done. You've not failed me yet, so I'm going to teach. So I ended up teaching adjunct. Long story short, somebody quit. He retired, I'm sorry. Basil Clark retired. I took his position as a visiting instructor, and I've been here ever since, and that was like 7 or 8 years ago. And now I am in the dissertation phase of my doctorate. And so it's funny how it came full circle, but not in the manner that I thought. I was a psychology professor, and now I'm a communication professor. So, and I'm also the coach of the speech and debate team, which I would really like to talk to any of you about. Since COVID happened, it's kind of declined a lot in interest, and I guess people are just trying to get back in the swing of things. It's a really good program. It's a really good team. So if you are interested, I would love to talk to you after this is over about it.
Okay, so best class that you took, most useful. Best class.
Best class for me was advanced public speaking. I know the titles changed since then. But honestly, it prepared me the most for the workforce out of all the classes that I took, because it really does help you write press releases if you go into that thing, that avenue. It also helps again with like making connections, being able to do interpersonal talks, large group talks, presenting, things like that. So definitely advanced public speaking for me.
Mine would be public relations, mainly because where I do marketing as a sales rep, we call ourselves marketing consultants because it sounds better than just saying sales rep, because I actually got to learn what a media kit was, and I have to take a media kit to every single client that I go to until I build that relationship with them. And without PR, I wouldn't have really known anything about a media kit. And then I had Senior Capstone, the portfolios that you will put together for Senior Capstone. I promise you, you will use those at almost every interview that you go to go back on. And you can update it with your new careers and things like that. Like mine looks completely different than it did when I graduated. It's not in the white binder anymore. It's gotten a little fancier since then, but you will use that to every interview that you go to. Even my job still like pulls mine every now and then, my boss does, to show new employees and things.
So I guess it's kind of obvious. I feel like mine is journalism because, of course, I was an on-air personality. So, I got on TV and I talked. But what people don't see is all the work that went into before that moment and then all the work after that moment. Learning to write, learning how to write, learning, just everything that you need to know, your basic building blocks, AP style. We call that like your journalism Bible because you go by that. It basically teaches you to rethink your grammar completely. Things that you learned in elementary school, wipe that out. It's wrong. It's wrong. When it comes to AP style anyway. I would say that class really helped me. Now the funnest class was definitely my experiential learning class because so for the semester, you take a class, and we kind of learned, cultures and what culture shock is and kind of what to expect, like a broad spec of what to expect. And then after that, that's when we go on the trip, that break after that. So that's my spiel.
This is such a hard question because I really did enjoy all of my classes here. I'd say honestly, I'd probably go Marianne just because I do teach journalism. Journalism's a huge help. AP style, pretty much piggyback off everything she said. When you throw that at a bunch of high school kids and you're like, here's AP style, and obviously I didn't throw the whole book at them. I had a little, pretty much basic necessities, like the basics of AP style, and they were still like, what is this? We were not taught this at all in school. I was like, well, it's not, technically, I guess not supposed to unless you go into this sort of thing. I will tell you, I don't know if it's still a thing. I loved crisis communication, which I loved that class. Desktop publishing, advanced public speaking, loved those classes. Honestly, one that I nerd out over. I'm a huge nerd. I love knowledge. I love to learn things. And comm theory is really the class that kind of pushed me to be a teacher because of one of the things that we do in there is we sort of get a group and we kind of teach the class about a specific theory in the book. And I remember doing that and thinking, wow, I like doing this. So this is what's going to kind of push me to want to be a teacher in a way. But obviously COVID happened and I had to sit at the house and play Xbox for 6 months before I figured out what I was going to do. But really, I hate the favorite class question because I like all of them and I don't want to be like this one singular class. Just take them all, honestly. Take every class you can. That's my advice to you.
Well, Lance listed all the classes. So, I don't know. My favorite was advanced public speaking. You really do learn a lot in that class. You have to give speeches about all kinds of stuff. But I think that one of the last ones we did was a debate where you had a partner and then you had another group and you really had to go toe to toe and you learn a lot about yourself. You don't get to pick your topic. So whichever side you get is the side you get and you're stuck with it.
So upset.
So.
I remember mine.
You remember it to this day?
Yes, it was.
I'm so sorry.
It was to say that global warming is not real. I had to defend that, and I researched for 2 weeks on that. Okay, yeah, that's
I'll also kind of mention one thing that I recently got into is media kits. So I won't say that I'm an influencer, but that's what they're called. They're like influencer media kits. And it basically, you have some photos of yourself, you have a little brief about me, and then you put up your engagements. And, you know, I have like, I think 68% female, 30-some% male audience. And my age ranges and my like everything. So that's, and then on the next page I put how much it's gonna cost for me to talk about your product. But, you know, that is one thing that I would say definitely pay attention to, because no matter what you go into, you really will probably need one, you know. You never know, you might be the next TikTok star and need to also make one, because Lord knows it's just the most random stuff that pops off on there. So there's my media kit spiel.
Zoomers, do you want to respond to most influential class? Other than Zach, we heard from Zach. Anybody else?
Is it still the same question, what your
Yeah.
favorite class was?
Yeah, best class, most useful class in your careers?
All right, so my favorite class, without a doubt, was the senior capstone class. One, because one of my best friends is in the class with me. His name is Chris. And the fact that we could kind of look over the past 2 to 3 years with all the projects that we've done. So I think we had every communication class together. So we worked on the Bearfax, Photoshop, you name it. I mean, just being able to have that journey with somebody that, you know, you started the program with, and to see others and see their journey is extremely gratifying. Also, I would not be where I am today without the senior capstone class. I mean, like I said, Dr. Massner, she pushed me to apply for graduate school. I would not be an academic advisor or an adjunct professor today without her. Like I cannot stress that enough, how important it is to understand where you are your senior year. If you're a sophomore, freshman, you know, really hone in on certain assignments. You may not think it's a big deal. You may just complete it just to complete it. But when you get to senior capstone, you have to put everything together because you're going to be applying for jobs. You're either going to be like, oh, yeah, I put in the time and effort. This is really good. Or this could have been better. And, you know, unfortunately, that was how I was too. When I look back at something, it's like, oh, I could have done this a little bit better. I wish I knew what I was kind of setting myself up for going into senior year. So that class is so crucial. And, you know, you do public speaking skills as well, because you're presenting on a certain area post-graduation, if you want to do grad school, different careers, different things like that. So by far, that was my favorite class. And so, yeah.
I would say the class that is most applicable to my job is similar to what Zach and Lance shared. One of those definitely being the advanced public speaking course. I know for me, there are days whenever I may speak to 3 students, but there are also days when I'm speaking to 200 or more. So I feel like that definitely prepared for me the job I have today. And then also with calm theory, whenever I'm like navigating through roommate conflict or anything like that, it definitely assists me in learning how to navigate through those channels with the student.
Guess it's just me left. Hey y'all. When I did go to class, I wasn't the best student. When I did go to class, let me go back to, because Zach told me, I said I graduated in 2019. I didn't graduate in 2019. I graduated in 2021. I'm sorry. I'm working on students right now, so my mind's kind of gone. But my favorite, like, fun class had to be the superhero class that was taught by Shannon JR. We had a lot of fun in there. And then JR also taught it's like a political communication class. I don't know. I like to put my opinion in things. So that was also fun. Me and Zach were in there together. Something else I wanted to add too, that's just so important about like events like this, and that I wish I kind of would have took a little bit more advantage of while I was there. It's so important about it's really important to make connections. connections, honestly, because like Jamie, Zach, Rob, and myself, we all work in higher ed, and we never know, when we'll need each other down the line. Maybe I might move across the country, and I know Jamie now, and she works somewhere that may be able to put me on. So, and then the speech and debate team, which Rachel was talking about, I did participate in that as well. Only got one first place trophy, but I'm proud of it. That was also a great way to make connections with people, because you meet people that you're competing with, but they're also people that you can network with. And I still speak to students from, schools across the country now because of that opportunity. But yeah, that's my answer for what you asked.
Oh yeah, superhero class was awesome. I honestly, you can't believe I didn't list that off, considering I listed everything. Biggest regret of a class I didn't take, Rachel's Game of Thrones class, because I hadn't watched the show yet. I didn't know. Okay, yes, co-taught. So I'm assuming, just for anybody, is anybody in here watch Game of Thrones? Put your hands in the air, wave them like you don't care. Cool. Oh, Lord, people.
I graduated way too early.
House of the Dragon is a thing, so I'm suggesting to my awesome professors, House of the Dragon class would be cool. I love it. It's my favorite thing on the planet right now. Every Sunday, it's football and House of the Dragon. That's my thing. But yeah, superhero class, it's great. Is it still here? Is the superhero class still here? Oh yes, take it.
I'm really upset over these new classes.
Yeah, are we doing superheroes in the spring or no? We are? Yeah, we are. We added it. Okay, so superheroes is in the spring. The advanced public speaking they're talking about is COM 425, professional speech communication. We changed the title to be more reflective of actually what they learn, and I think the testimonies say that. We also are teaching another kind of advanced oral communication course called Persuasion, and that's going to be offered in the spring. So if you are so inspired by the alums, you can take that. So I'm going to say thank you to all of our alumni, including our Pike TV guys in the back who like to be behind the camera, not in front of the camera. But thank you for coming, and hopefully one day all of you could be up here as an alum sharing your fantastic story with what you've done with a communication degree. So, thanks.